Folks, welcome to the next edition of Serverless Craic. We are currently going through the book, The Value Flywheel Effect. How are we getting on, gentlemen? All good?
All good.
Not bad, not bad.
Getting cold.
Getting into winter. Certainly is this
Winter.
week.
Yeah.
It's freezing. We're kind of finishing off the clarity of purpose bit. We're going to put these two chapters together in our kind of book read through. We've got the chapter 7, mapping the market competition, and then chapter 8 is the case study on clarity of purpose, which is a cloud guru. So map the market, one of the things as we write in the book, we wanted some nice examples of how you use mapping, and there's a few different kind of levels. And I thought the mapping the market was a good one because it's really like, your company in the category your company's in, it's like, what's everyone else doing? And there was like, I know we had one about there was an electric vehicle value chain. Ooh, I wonder who that could be.
Indeed.
There's things about and that was a really interesting, like when Tesla came out, they really disrupted the auto industry, and there's a lot of people doing orderly maps of what Tesla were doing. And the famous one was like, they're not really a car company, they're actually a battery company.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All that stuff. It's a lot of fascinating stuff around company strategy. So really the map of the market was as much about trying to identify like a value chain for your company and just have a bit of fun and map out like where you are compared to your competitors.
Yeah.
It was always a good exercise because what you could then do is think about movement. How would technology evolve this thing?
Yeah.
You could actually almost like, because I suppose when you're as an engineer in a team, you very rarely see the whole company strategy, but you can kind of join the dots.
Yeah. And even just understanding who your competitors are and then having to think about, well, what's the value chain of that competitor? What things are they up to? And sometimes you can find the stuff out by their investor reports or their analyst reports. You can see what they're putting out there in the public. So you can do quite a bit of digging quite easily with Google or ChatGPT or any of those things to find out what are your competitors, what areas are they interested in? What are they investing in? What's their value chain? And it's always a good way to just to see where you are compared to your competitors.
There's some nice maps on, is it like awesome orderly maps on GitHub where people will sit and listen to the I think it's like the Netflix end of quarter results and the readout, and they'll do a orderly map of what like Netflix or the company are saying, and they'll say, well, we think this is their kind of movement, this is their kind of market, their gameplay. They try and call it out. And Mark, you're always very good at that, like looking at a company's website and doing a map and figuring out like what they were doing. It's tough to do, like, but you actually can totally do it from publicly available information.
Yeah, the value chain. The value chain is really the key component there, isn't it? It's even you think about that from a perspective of like the existing value chain, but then there's always emergent things as well. Like you'll always hear these product people talk about, they don't talk about like having an impact, they talk about disruption. What are those things that really would disrupt that value chain and likely disrupt your business or whatever sort of capability or service that you're offering, right? There's tons of good examples of that.
The fact that it needs to be anchored with the customer need. Like there's always been cases, I'm sure, where there's always been a crazy person in the company say, let's disrupt something, like let's disrupt, I don't know, the AI market. You go, but we're not in the AI market. Do you know what I mean? There's people always trying to disrupt something that's a different customer need. The fact that it's anchored with a customer need, I think, is really important because you are actually, it's like what do they call it? It's like thinking inside the box. You know what I mean? It's like constrained innovation. You can't go and create a brand new value chain in the company. Well, unless you're the CEO.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably the one map, though. No, we always talk about what is it? Reacting, being able, when we kind of say about designing agile organizations and, and time to value and all that sort of stuff. And really, when you think about like all that, it's all optimized around being able to react to opportunity, but also responding to threat. And so in order to do that, you do need to have good visibility. You know, you need to be understanding what those, like you guys always talk about weak signals and signals, you know, and being able to kind of, you know, process those things and, you know, leverage it. And then if try and maybe even just talk about like, how does that impact the evolution in terms of the value chain, right? The movement, and how does that then influence our next actions and the movement in our space, right?
Yeah, and I think
it's interesting.
You definitely mentioned there, Mike, around, you know, if your competitors make some big strategic move, if you map this out, you can maybe predict that ahead of time and then start to prepare your org to respond appropriately to any sort of moves that others can make. And I think a lot of we talked in earlier episodes about your rate of turn. If you have a really lean, agile organization and your rate of turn is low, you know, even if you were blindsided by something, you can respond really rapidly. But if you're really strategic, you can almost predict what they're going to do and start doing gameplay ahead of time to prepare yourselves or capture the market before they even make their move.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons worldly mapping is so difficult is because a lot of the maps you see like on the internet, they're mapping like, you know, like third world countries and like SpaceX, they're mapping huge things. It's hard to get your head around. So I think we kind of almost made a decision to let's worldly map our technology strategy. So it's a lot of like it's about technology and engineering. But this is probably the one chapter, one piece where we're saying actually think outside that. A lot of the maps you see around are mapping big things like a lot, and I think that's quite difficult when you're starting off to map an entire industry. It's very difficult.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Like even in that, Dave, you're always offending engineers by saying code is a liability, right? But when you kind of map that and you kind of look at that landscape, you kind of realize actually it's becoming more and more of a liability, right?
I seen a guy today on Twitter saying that, so I'm not getting into it, but he was saying code yesterday, it's all about design. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, so there's a nice case study then on A Cloud Guru. A Cloud Guru are a brilliant company. They've been acquired now by Pluralsight a few years ago. But I think when we first heard of them, that was just such a cool company. Loads of really good social media about cloud. Very early on, doing the two brothers just pretty much put together a site to kind of train people primarily on certification. And it was just such a brilliant idea.
Yeah. And the fact that we were all using Xcloud Guru for our AWS certification sort of training as well, right from the very start, was we were almost invested in them seeing them succeed.
Yeah. Two brothers are Sam and Ryan Cronenberg, brilliant.
You see the videos, those were the guys, you'd see them, they would hang about reInvent and stuff as well, and you'd always engineers always go with selfies.
I love Cloud Gurus.
Yeah,
I know it's brilliant, and like we're always anyway. So such a good story, and then then as the story went, well, I heard the story way later. A guy called Peter Sparsky, who was he was with them in the early days, and a whole bunch of kind of serverless heroes were with them early on. They had built a completely serverless training platform. And it's actually funny. It's Black Friday next week, and they decided to put a like a 10% sale. And I remember we always used to buy our Cloud Guru passes during Black Friday because you get them for like $10. And so the first time they did that, they were all actually attending reInvent, and they were sitting, and the thing went viral. It was posted on Reddit or something, and it just went through the roof, far exceeding their. And they started to get hammered on the system, and they were all panicking, like sitting on the bad Wi-Fi. I think it was during the keynote, panicking like, and the system just ran like clockwork. Everything just scaled up, and they were sitting going like they had nothing to do. And I remember Peter telling me, so they all sat around thinking, what do we do now? We've just like, you know, like 50x their sales, like no support tickets. So they were kind of blown away by the how the system scaled for them.
Yeah, I
think they were correct. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
They were a cracking example of you know, clear North Star, almost, you know, be cloud certified anywhere in the world, right? And then even looking at the, you know, like mapping the market, you know, like that value chain and being able to kind of create that, manipulate that value chain to actually come up with sort of that product. And then even, you know, leveraging the Black Friday stuff. What was it in the book you were saying that was like 90%? They went for like a 90% discount.
Yeah, that's what they used to do. They always used to knock 90% off. But the mad story is, and I remember hearing this years later, Cloud Guru, they used to organize, I think it was Serverless Conf. And I remember, Mark, I think Gillian, your partner Gillian, spoke at that years and years ago, maybe 2016 or something. But Simon Wardley himself was speaking at their event in 2017. And they got him to speak. It could have been the one in New York, I think. I'm not sure. And Simon done his talk, and he was telling me this afterwards. They asked Simon afterwards, this mapping thing looks really interesting. Like, could we try it? And Simon said, yeah, let's do it now. So he sat with a few of them and he started mapping out their value chain. And then they had all this other stuff like organizing conferences, like doing talks. And he's like, how is that helping your main value? Who's your customer? And they're like, it's a developer who wants to get certified, and they're worried about being sort of like, left behind. So I was like, just focus on that. Like, forget about all the other stuff. Just focus. And they had this aha moment where they just really locked in that North Star. And then it was Drew Fremont, actually. I met him, and he was telling me this story again, and he was kind enough to share the wee sketch. It's in the book on page 97. There's a wee map where you can see Simon's drawn out their value chain, the evolution, and he's drawn his kind of OODA loop. So it's mad, like, and he's actually signed it. I think it's 11th of October 2017. And like I say, they went on and sold the company for like $2 billion or something like that.
And we say this in some of the DDD stuff we do as well. It's like, are you focusing on your core domain, and do you know what your core domain is? All the other stuff is supporting that, but if you don't focus on what your core value proposition is, you're gonna waste a lot of time and energy.
And you've only so many cycles, that's the reality of it. So that's why I think there's a really nice thing about kind of, mapping the market to be very clear on the value chain, like where are you playing in and what's your differentiator, and then having, laser focus on that. And it's a nice technique. And then the case study just describes how that actually happened.
It really reinforces the serverless first mindset as well, right? They built it very serverless because they couldn't afford anything else. But those choices really helped them scale to meet unprecedented demand without really missing a beat.
Well, the famous story is your man Sam Cronenberg. He was working in Sydney or somewhere, or Melbourne, and he went off on holidays back to Tasmania with his wife and family, and he locked himself in a room for 2 weeks during a holiday and built the whole system. Yep. By himself. He told that at one of their company talks. It's a great story.
I think it was Drew who did Map Camp. I think they did do that story at Map Camp.
He did. That's right. He did it in Map Camp 2018.
2018.
Is that the one you were at?
I was at that. Yeah, a few of us actually were in that in London.
That's right.
Simon organised. It was really good.
Yeah, cool. So that's the crack. I mean, that's kind of closes off our clarity of purpose sort of section. I think the case stories are good. It's nice to sort of see a real story of companies doing this. And I think since the book came out, we've heard many more companies tell similar stories. But it's good to lock it in. So next time we'll start on the challenge in the environment, that next phase of the flywheel. So give us a look on the serverless-first.com. Give us a follow on YouTube, LinkedIn. We're not in Blue Sky yet.
No, we should be.
No. We're all on Blue Sky individually, right? But
yeah, that's true. Sort that out. That's a job for me. All right, folks. Thanks very much. Good luck.
Bye.